lives is something that I feel is of great importance personally to our society as well as our communities in order to prosper and for children to grow up feeling validated and successful, even though it's something as trivial as recreational sports. Participation in coordinated sporting activities supports positive mental and social health, along with the obvious physical implications, according to Project Play from the Aspen Institute. Participation is not only progressive for the coaches and the volunteers, both professionally as well as personal in many regards. There are as many lessons for the kids to learn from us as there are for us to learn from them. There are also many societal benefits that stem from teaching common youth in youth sports, and it simply takes someone taking an hour out of their week, a couple handshakes, pats on the back in order to gain rewards or gain the unforgettable reward of witnessing a child score a basket or a goal for the first time. The largest driving factor for myself to want to participate and to promote participation in youth sports derives from the failure of the youth recreational system for myself. I spent many years chasing butterflies, in the sports that I played, as technique, strategy, and conditioning wasn't something that my coaches had as a priority. I sought to find some kind of leadership and guidance, of which never actually came to fruition. I witnessed coaches' lack of knowledge in terms of injuries, substitutions, strategies, and simply just the lack of instruction at practices and games. I saw how these actions were hurting players, both on and off the field, their drive to play with each other, as well as the impact on human psychology as they grew up and as they got older. Many years later, I witnessed this occurring to my little brother. He was going through a similar experience. There was a mother helping out who just didn't possess the wealth of knowledge necessary to coach a successful team. And it was at that time that I felt like I needed to step in and try and make a difference due to the lack of quality coaches that I saw around in the local leagues. I sought to promote change within the league, but I actually saw a greater change in myself, more positive change. I was able to develop structure, meaning in my own life. I was able to feel a little bit more fulfilled each week by what I was doing, able to be around the game that I once loved a little bit more and had a greater aspiration for. I was able to more easily communicate and delegate tasks. Thanks to coaching, I'm able to more critically analyze and have a greater situational awareness in my life, thanks to paying attention to the game that I love. Competitive sports is one of the things that we allow our youth to be prideful in and validate themselves in based on their own performance. If these kids are able to learn the skills and traits necessary to succeed in competitive sports at a young age, they'll be able to transfer those skills to other places of life, such as work and academics. It develops much needed life skills like problem solving, communication, and teamwork. Being placed with a team also forces a sense of inclusion on the participants, as they aren't allowed to select their own teams and instead are selected at random and just have to work with what they have. Success in physical activities and recreational sports can also lead to increased performances in academics, like I said. According to more than 50 studies by the Division of Adolescent and School Health, they all stated that success in physical activities, participation in them, can lead to increased hand-eye coordination, concentration, test scores, and classroom behavior. It's important to note that all athletes are usually well-rounded in many different areas of life and not just one. Physical activities and recreational sports is a sublime place for these skills and team characteristics to be learned and developed, and essentially will lead to long-term validation for the child and confidence in them. After discussing the multitude of skills that there are, and let's talk about some of the social benefits. Easiest way to do that is to derive one of the skills that is learned, one of the traits that's learned by participating in youth sports, which we're going to talk about, is inclusion. So teams are majorly selected at random, and teammates may not have any previous interaction with one another or even the coach. And this essentially stimulates an environment that you may encounter in a workplace or working on a class or school project with some classmates you may not know them, but essentially you are dropped together and forced to come together to some kind of common objective, some kind of common goal. Even though these people may have differing viewpoints, differing priorities, you do have to come together and essentially find a way to succeed. Let's see. So it is my belief that essentially going forward, inclusion is going to be somewhat of a virtue that is necessary, and that the American citizen and society is expected to have. Talking about current political issues, we won't go into it just to save confrontation, but inclusion is something that is going to be necessary going forward for both our wedding halls as well as our bathrooms. Okay? So essentially in closing, teaching children is one of the most rewarding and self-esteem promoting things that I've ever done, and that I think anybody else can ever do. As I mentioned, the largest factor for me to want to participate in youth sports was simply the failure of the system for myself and my need to want to make it better for the coming generations. The greatest benefit that I saw was in myself and the validation I saw in my own life, not just the change I was making in other players' life. There's also endless benefits to the academic world when kids are participating in youth sports and they are able to essentially battle and compete as a team. And also the life skills that you learn by participating in those sports is going to contribute to a more tolerant and progressive society going forward. So I ask all of you to either participate yourself as a volunteer, as a coach, and try to make a difference in a child's life like someone may have yours in the past, or simply as you go forward, promote for your little siblings or your own kids moving forward to participate in youth sports activities and reap the benefits that